Are we ready? Good evening, everyone. I am so delighted and so honored to be here this evening for our Peace Town Hall with none other than the Reverend Al Sharpton, as well as our first African-American sheriff here in Jefferson County, Sheriff Mark Petway, and our district attorney, the first African-American district attorney here in Jefferson County, the Honorable Danny Carr. I am also here with other distinguished members of the Links Incorporated. At this time, we will have greetings from our second Vice President, Ms. Kathy Bonds.
Hi, I'm Kathy Bonds, the second Vice President of the Tri-County chapter of the Links Incorporated. The Links Incorporated was founded over 74 years ago with a devotion to providing impactful programs to transform our communities. The Tri-County chapter was chartered 10 years ago, and we're proud to continue the legacy of this great organization with tonight's program. On behalf of our president, Ms. Rhonda Allen, and the 47 members of the Tri-County chapter, welcome and thank you for joining our Bridging the Gap Through Peace, Police, Engagement, and Community Education. This evening, we will have a conversation with our two Alabama history makers. First Black Sheriff Mark Petway and the first district attorney, Black District Attorney Danny Carr, both serving Jefferson County, Alabama. Our moderator for this evening is Tri-County's own House of Representatives, District 60, Representative Wendolyn Gavan. But first, let me welcome Mrs. Denise Cooper, attorney at law and distinguished member of the Savannah, Georgia chapter of the Links Incorporated. Attorney Cooper is currently serving as the Southern Area National Trends and Services Facet Chair.
Good evening, everyone. What an awesome occasion to be here with such history makers. I want to thank the president of the Tri-County chapter, Rhonda Allen, and Ms. Kathy Bonds for the opportunity to bring greetings on behalf of our Southern Area Director, Ms. Sylvia Carter-Perry, and our Program Director, Dr. Deborah Thomas. We want to just say that this is a great thing that you all are doing and gathering. We know that it's a Friday night, but usually that's when things are happening. So I hope that many are joining in this discussion to hear from these phenomenal speakers. And with our peace program, it is something to behold. It is important, we know, in these turbulent times to bring and engage and connect with one another, and education is key. So I think an opportunity like this tonight to hear from your local history makers is certainly going to make a great impact in your local community and worldwide. So thank you for having me. Thank you for your service and dedication to all of the panelists. Thank you, and thank you to the chapter members for putting in the work and ensuring that we see this through in these times and make sure that we have efforts and have crucial conversations with one another. Thank you.
Again, I am so delighted once again to welcome you to our Peace Town Hall meeting. It is such an awesome occasion when we can come together to discuss those tough issues, but not to belabor the point, because we have a very, very special guest this evening who has come to be with us for a little while and to engage. We are so delighted and so privileged. I used to hear a man by the name of Mayor Larry Langford. He would always say, in this world, you better make some friends. I have the opportunity to serve in the Alabama legislature, and as a result, I've made some friends. This friend is none other than Mr. Luther Wynn, the owner of Greyhound Racetrack here in the state of Alabama. But It's not about my friendship with him. It's about his friendship with our guest tonight, our honored guest, none other than the Reverend Al Sharpton, president of the National Action Network, our pastor in the area of civil rights and social justice. I mean, I can't say any more because he has to get on and get off. But at this time, ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome none other than Reverend Al Sharpton. Well, we're waiting. Hey. Reverend Al Sharpton is trying to get in. This is what happens these days. We have some technical difficulty, but his people in New York are trying to bring him into the program. But with that being said, we're going to go on until he comes on. And I am so yet again delighted. We have our share, a man who really needs no introduction. When you're great in your own right, you don't need 500 sentences. You don't need 20,000 paragraphs. You just simply need your name. And what a name he has. He was elected, and let me say this, elected 3.5 years ago. And I preface this with 3.5 years ago because we have an upcoming election next year. And we want to make sure that we keep him for another 3.5, 4 years. But he is our sheriff. The one that when we call on, he's always there, fighting for civil rights and human rights and civil and social justice for all. And I see that Reverend Al is coming in. So Sheriff Petway, your long introduction, but yet short introduction is probably going to be shorter than what it is. But we're so delighted that Reverend Al, I see his name popping up. I'm already shaking right now because I'm nervous. I think we all are. So I'm not sure if he's cued in yet or not. But as he's coming in, let me finish my introduction because, okay, I see someone. At this time, if we're ready, I think Reverend Al is here now.
Are you guys ready for Rev Sharpton? I can put them on right away.
But I'll go ahead on until he comes fully in. But we have with us none other than Sheriff Mark Petway, Sheriff of Jefferson County, our county. And what a wonderful, wonderful man he is. So at this time, Sheriff Petway.
Representative Gavan, I just want to thank you for that introduction. Well said. I just want to thank the Tri-County Links for this opportunity to be here this afternoon to share on this panel. We also have our great DA with us today. Delighted to be with everybody that is here on this panel. We're looking to discuss some important things that are involving our community. So I think now we see the Reverend Al Sharpton. So I'm going to give way now to allow Reverend Al Sharpton an opportunity to come on and say some things to address us.
Yeah.
Oh, Reverend Al?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can hear me, but hopefully you can. I just said I'm shaking in my boots because we're so nervous here with the fact that you're going to just just say a few words to us and participate in this moment. So first of all, let me thank you. And I just thanked Mr. Wynn for getting you here. We all know here in the state of Alabama that you're very close to Mr. Wynn. And so we want to just thank you for being a part of this event, our Peace Town Hall meeting. We have so many different issues, but I'm not going to belabor the point. Thank you. So Reverend Al, if you would just briefly just say a few words, and we just have one question or two questions, and we know you have to go. Thank you.
Well, first of all, let me thank you for having me. And even though I had things on the schedule, Luther Wynn is so dear and near to us. He's on our national board. And I know what the links do all over the country. I wanted to at least say hello. And as we are going in this weekend where a year ago, next Tuesday, George Floyd was killed, and his family and I are doing several activities, and then they're going to the White House, and the latest civil rights leaders will be meeting. We must continue to fight for justice, but we must continue to fight for economic empowerment. But almost every day we're seeing something else. Today, we're looking at, again, the tapes of what happened 2 years ago in Monroe, Louisiana. So the struggle continues, which is why we need new laws and we need town hall meetings like this. Our community must be together on these issues.
And we know we know that you're very, very busy, but George Floyd, Rayshard Brooks, Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, you've been there through it all. You've been there every step of the way, bringing consolation to family after family. We know what's going on right now in this country. I wanted to ask this question, and this is a question that our organization wanted me to ask also. And the simple question is, when? We have with us, and I wanted to make sure you heard that we have Sheriff Mark Petway on the phone, and he's going to just briefly make some comments to you as well, and our district attorney. And both of these are the first African-American men in our city, in our county, to hold these positions. But when will we get some relief? And how do we get some relief here in the United States? Because we're sick and tired of being sick and tired of seeing you time after time bringing the eulogy at these funerals.
I think that we will stop this and see the end of this when we decide that we're going to do it. That's why we need to change laws. What did they do in the 60s? They marched, they fought, and it took from 55, the Montgomery boycott, to 64 to get a Civil Rights Act. But now you don't see anybody in the back of a bus or denied a hotel. I think we have to do that with policing, but we need to do it with the cooperation of police. I think one of the things that we should not miss is that what happened at the George Floyd trial, 10 policemen testified against that officer. And when good police stand up, then we have a bond that they protect their reputation and work in the community. 2 weeks after I did George Floyd's funeral, I had to preach the funeral of a 1-year-old kid killed by gang violence in Brooklyn, New York. So we need to stop both sides. We need to stop those that break the law that are in blue uniforms, but we need to stop those that break the law in blue jeans in our own community. We must have
Sheriff here, and because you have to go, I would dare not miss this opportunity for him as well as our DA to talk with you and just engage with you for just a few seconds. So at this time, our honorable Sheriff Mark Petway.
Reverend Sharpton, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for all that you do. You've been a great spokesperson for our community. One of the things I like that you do, you bring accountability to our community. And that is something that is needed right now at this time. We need accountability and oversight in all that's going on in the law enforcement community. We just want to say thank you and keep doing what you're doing. Stay on the battlefield. You have some people that are right there with you. So continue doing what you're doing. And we want you to know that you're not alone, that we're fighting the fight with you.
God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Sheriff.
Reverend Sharp, we have with us our district attorney, and again, I mentioned to you because I know you love to hear things like this, the first and probably youngest district attorney and the first African-American district attorney, Mr. Danny Carr.
Let me first say to Real Mayor Sharpton, thank you for all that you do for us. Let me formally also say that I recognize that I stand on your shoulders. The fights that you fought in the community, and the manner in which you fought them, and the character that you display, it allowed people like me from an underserved community to believe that I can be whatever I want to be. And I appreciate you. I thank you. And I want to tell you this, I remember you coming to Winona High School to speak at the Unity Breakfast and with Reverend Tommy Lewis and all of us. And we sat at the same table, you and I. And at the time, I wasn't a district attorney. And I have a picture with you and myself in the back room. And the one thing you told me was, son, keep believing. So I just want to tell you today, I kept believing. And now I'm the district attorney. So God bless you, Reverend. Thank you for your foresight. I appreciate you, and I can't wait to shake your hand in person and also tell you some of the good things that I'm doing in your name down here in Jefferson County, along with our wonderful sheriff. God bless you.
Reverend Al, before you go, one last question. Since we're dealing with peace, police engagement, and community education, one thing, you're in the media. And has been a big topic, is how we're portrayed in the media, as well as how our story is portrayed. So one of the questions that our chapter and our chapter president, Rhonda Allen, wanted us to ask is, has the media coverage of unrest in response to the George Floyd police shooting and as well as other unarmed African-American men affected relationships with the community since starting for instance, our peace program and any type of program that's dealing with community policing? And I think he went out. Oh God, he went out. His system went out. So rephrase this question to you, Sheriff Petway. The media, we're scrutinized so much. Your job, and especially when you enter that bullseye of becoming an elected official, how do you think, and what role do you think the media coverage of killings such as George Floyd has played a role, and does it have an impact on your ability, as well as the ability of your deputies here, to get things done and to properly police in the community?
Well, if it was not for the media showing the video, we would not have known what have happened in that situation. So we are thankful for the media to showing us and bring those things to light that happened in a situation in which a person's civil rights was violated. Now, there are times when the media do things to where they reflect poorly upon certain communities, and they do that often too many times, where they will show violence within a certain community over and over again. And those communities are communities where we live. But we want to be able to say, hey, violence just don't happen only in our communities, but it happens in other communities also.
But but that's not always the case. When they see a Black person, and Sheriff, I know you know this probably more than anybody, as well as our district attorney here, when they see someone of color, they automatically think radical. They automatically think unrest. So, I mean, how do we dispel those myths? And also, how do we dispel the myth to the point that our people, not just Black people now, but all people, see that we need the media to bring some of these situations to light? So what do we do?
Let me say this. The media has obviously a lot of inherent influence, and oftentimes it appears at this point, there's a moniker in the media that says, "If it bleeds, it leads." Obviously, right now, violence is perpetuated each and every day. Shootings lead the headlines, breaking news each and every day, and oftentimes, what we don't also see is some of the good things that people are doing. And the reason that's important is that the media has a job to do as it relates to coverage and notifying the community of what's going on around them and throughout this entire state. However, I do believe there's an onus on the media to also show that there are people doing good stuff as well, because it needs to be a balanced approach, in my opinion. Now, we all know that violence is I mean, it's up there, especially gun violence, especially young people who are changing their lives and their families' lives by the acts that they're committing in our community. So the question is, whether the media has prioritized violent crime because obviously the views are more, or are the media going to make sure that they take an even kill approach and make sure that they show some of the good that's going on in our communities as well? Because my grandfather always said you can only be what you see and what you're exposed to.
But you continue to see the faces of Black men. You continue to see the faces of Black men. What do? It's just like I just asked Reverend Sharpton. When will win be win? Sheriff Petway?
Well, I would like to answer your question by saying now it's time for change. We do have people that we have elected down to bring about change. And I do expect things to start changing now. We have to be part of the change. And yes, I would like to see a change in our community and how we go forth with law enforcement. We need to start at the hiring process. Everything starts with the hiring. Unfortunately, we don't have individuals that show up with a sign on the forehead saying that I'm a bad apple. But we do have to do background checks, and we have to do checks to find out who can be fit for this position. Once we have a man and hired within this position, we have to have training, ongoing training, to make sure they understand how to perform their job, how to make sure that they understand rights of individuals, and not to violate anyone's rights. They need to know how to do their job and how to do it correctly. And from there, training continues on because laws change. After they're trained, we have all kind of training that we're doing right now. Training dealing with de-escalation. They know how to go out and handle a situation and not let the situation handle them. They have to learn how to de-escalate, and then they can allow a person to be arrested without any further incident.
But there's a flip side to that, because you're talking about the training
Sheriff that way. But on the flip side, you have this everyday ordinary citizen that's saying, hey, there's not enough training. And although, yes, my child may have done wrong, but the police are killing people. And most of them say they've been trained. So what would your response to that be?
Well, we can never get by deputies were caught on the spot during a chase, and the cameras followed them all the way till the guy was arrested. I was pleased in how they handled the arrest. They did not go up the force continuum to use anything other than verbal in their hands. They arrested the individual, put him in handcuffs, and brought him to the jail with no further incident. No one was hurt. They were watched by national television as they was arresting this individual. So the training that they had, they used the proper training. We also have cameras also. They weren't just being watched by national television, but also by the cameras that they had deployed on them. And they did a great job. They did an excellent job. No one was hurt in the incident. And we reviewed it. We always review anytime someone uses force. We always make sure that they do the right thing. And if they do not, we want to make sure that we correct whatever they're doing wrong.
And that leads me to this question. You mentioned doing wrong.
You know, we see all across this country, and the DAs have a real tough role. They have a real hard role to play in this situation, many of these situations, because we see where officers who say they are trained, deputies who say they're trained, these incidents occur. We all see it. But at some point, a decision has to be made when there's an occurrence of a chokehold, when there is a knee or a foot on the neck, or there's an inappropriate dragging, as we see with what's going on now with the young man that was killed, brutally dragged and killed by the state trooper that, they're talking about now. So my question then becomes, when we're in situations like that, how do we make sure that justice has been served for that individual when the officer or deputy is doing his job, but someone is killed? Because that's what, in the minds of most people, that's what we're seeing. And then we either come back with a no bill from the grand jury, or the district attorney or attorney general has to make a tough decision. Mr. Carr?
Well, for me, one of the things you have to look at is, and I tell people all the time, you know, in this position, you have to make tough decisions all the time. Being the DA is like being a referee of a game. What I mean by that is you call a foul or you make a call, one side gonna cheer, one side gonna boo. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That just comes with the job. That's just inherently with what we do. Now, from a grand scheme of things, the one thing you said that was important that I often tell community members all the time, because most of the time when I talk, I also like to teach, because it's easy just to talk, but also they need to be informed of information. And here, you mentioned the term grand jury. Why is grand jury important from a lawyer standpoint, especially the DA? Nobody in the state of Alabama, and I say this all the time, if it's one pill in a car or whether it's capital murder, they have to be indicted before they can be tried, no matter what. That is where the rubber meets the road. And 18 citizens have to find probable cause based on the facts and the law. So the bigger question is this, and we've seen this in certain states, maybe even Kentucky, I believe, where there was an instance where, most grand jury proceedings are secretive by law. That's what they are. But the courts in that state, because of a movement based on a killing that happened in Kentucky, to determine whether that DA even behind closed doors even presented that information to that grand jury. And one of the grand jurors asked the court, could they speak out in writing after the proceedings, and determined that he never even presented that option to the grand jury. So the question then becomes, when you have a grand jury, how does that work? You present facts and you present the law to them, and they decide not guilt or innocence, just whether probable cause exists to go forward and have a trial and determine if a person broke the law beyond a reasonable doubt. Those are two separate things. But the key element is anybody, if it's a felony charge, has to be indicted by a grand jury, meaning 12 of 18 people. It's not unanimous. 12 of 18 people have to say, yes, I find probable cause.
That being said, since you mentioned Kentucky, Sheriff Petway, no not warrant. You know the story of Breonna Taylor. A no not warrant, a young lady. I didn't feel there were exigent circumstances involved. However, I'm not in Kentucky. But I think I feel the pain of a lot of people, many millions of people throughout this country. What is your position on no knock warrants here in the state of Alabama? And explain to the public when it is appropriate for a no knock warrant.
Within the Sheriff's Department here in Jefferson County, we do not do no knock warrants. That is not our policy. We make sure that we go to serve a warrant. We want to make sure that individual is there. We're not going to force ourselves in, not knowing that person is not there. We want to make sure that the address is correct, everything is correct before we go there. And once we get there, we're not going to tear anything up. We're not going to force our way in. I don't believe in that. We want to make sure that if we go there, that person is there. If that person is not there, we will return later. So we will leave. Everything we do is about bridging the gap. So if they have to understand that our job is tough, but we want to do it the right way so they can respect us in what we do. They know that we have a tough job, but if we treat them fairly, if we treat them right, they can respect our job and respect what we do. So that's what we try to do each and every day. And everything we do is about bridging the gap. If we do it the right way, they understand it and they see it and they respect us for doing it that way.
Police engagement
And community education. So often, District Attorney Carr and Sheriff Petway, I hear young women now, mothers of all ages to be exact. The question and the biggest concern that they have every day now when they wake up, if they have a child, is whether or not my child is going to come home after being stopped by a police, a deputy sheriff, or law enforcement, period. What do you do? Or what is your advice to anyone when the blue lights stop you?
You know, I tell people all the time that there are some basic things you should do. Number one, you should not agitate the situation. What I mean by that is if you're stopped, especially at nighttime, I always tell people turn your dome light on so they can see inside your car. Turn your dome light on, put your hazard lights on. If you're not comfortable stopping where you are, go at a slow rate of speed with your hazard lights on, with your dome lights on, to where you're in a lit area. Pull your car over and make sure that they can see your hands either on the steering wheel or out the window. That way, that officer or deputy is comfortable walking up, and you don't even appear to be a threat at all to anybody. Because the most important thing is that you live to see another day. And one of the other most important things is this, is that you cannot win on the side of the road. You cannot win on the side of the road. That's important for a lot of people, young people, to know that if you trust, hopefully, and I know in most instances, most people, rightfully so, don't. But if you trust some of the people that are in positions of leadership, then you know that you can come with them with a credible situation if it's credible, and that'll be handled appropriately. But you can't win on the side of the road. If it's your word against that person's word in a court of law, in a municipal court where most traffic things happen, then 9 times out of 10, truth be told, that law enforcement officer's word gonna prevail to that judge. And as you know, these are bench trials.
But you mentioned, and I guess I'm gonna shift this question. You mentioned the threat.
Right.
In many instances, if you know, even with the crimes or situations that have occurred on out in the national media, Sheriff, we see time and time again from the body cam footage, young Black men, Black women saying, "I don't have a gun. I don't have my hands up. I haven't done anything," but yet they end up on a cold slab. So if we can say turn on the dome, so where are you just supposed to sit in your car like this and pray you don't get shot? So what's the alternative? Because we're seeing now that turning on the dome, and you're right, you can't win. So what do you do, and how do you train your officers? Maybe I should ask that question, to handle situations like that.
There are several different types of training that we do for officers in a situation like that. First of all, we do bias training here, making sure that they're not profiling anyone. That's very important to know that when they pull you over, they pull you over for probable cause, not because of the color of your skin. We want to make sure that they're honoring the law and not just trying to profile you while they're out there. And I know too many times that has happened. That has happened to me as an individual. That has happened to my family members. And I'll be the first to let you know that it happens in law enforcement in different communities. So we teach implicit bias within law enforcement at our academy. Also, we want to make sure that when someone's pulling you over, they can tell you why they pulled you over. A lot of times people ask the question, "Why did you pull me over, officer?" And the officer's not able to give them an answer. We want to make sure that if someone gets pulled over, that they can articulate whatever infraction occurred at that time, because there's a problem with trust right now. The officer is saying to the person, "I don't trust you," and the person saying back to the officer, "I don't trust you." So there is no trust right there between either one at that point. And too many times it ends up into where an officer has someone to step out of their vehicle, and that should happen on a regular vehicle stop. Not unless they have some type of drugs or something in plain sight that they see that's against the law, then they may have the person step out then. But just on a regular traffic stop, no one needs to step out of their vehicle. And this is something that we may need to teach the students and the children at school about how to do traffic stops, what to do on a traffic stop. It's sad that we have to teach our kids this.
That's an excellent point.
I think it's needed this day and time.
It may be needed, but we're the only,
Wearing you out.
we're the only race that have to teach our children how to interact with police officers, and that should not have to be that way. And that is why I believe in bridging the gap, to making sure that there is a trust that is built within the community. And if, as you heard what I just said a few minutes ago, there's no trust on either side right now. The officers are not trusting the ones that they stop, and those that are getting stopped are not trusting the officers. So the lack of trust there causes a problem. So we have to be the ones to initiate going out, bridging the gap between law enforcement and the community, showing that, hey, we can be trusted. So we have a lot of work to do in that area, and we will start that. We have gone, we have ventured out to the schools, and I am thankful for the Tri-County chapter of the links.
Thankful for you.
You all have been out to the schools with me, and I thank you for partnering with me. You have been into the community with me. You do great community service, so I thank you all for partnering with me to go out into the community. So you see a lot of what I do. You see the trust I try to build with the community, and we will try to venture to the schools next school year to see if we can talk to the students there to explain to them what to do on a traffic stop.
And this is the question
I was going to ask Reverend Sharpton. I had two good questions to ask him. I'm going to ask you and DA Carr. To be effective, law enforcement agencies must constantly adapt to the changing nature of crime and the way criminals behave. That's key. Behavior drives everything. In your opinion, what is the biggest issue facing law enforcement today?
The biggest issue as far as crime goes, cybercrime is a new issue that we're dealing with right now. If you notice, the pipeline was shut down by a person that's not even in this country right now. So bringing a person like that to justice is going to be hard. We don't even know who that person, we can identify that person. That is technology right there that is allowed to come in and rob us of something. That person got away with millions of dollars. That is robbery without even using a weapon, without even using a gun.
it was a ransom. I think it was a ransom or
Well,
something.
that was just initial fee, and I'm quite sure more was paid after that. So robbery now has transferred and changed to a new form now. Used to be somebody ran up to you with a knife or a gun and say, hand it over. Now they're doing it through different ways, such as through electronics. They have stepped up their game, and we have to now have a forensic team within law enforcement to be able to combat that. So we have a whole technology team right now to deal with new trends that's going on in crime. So to combat that, we had to step up our game. It costs money. And we need money to be able to do that. I've asked the legislatures for money to be able to go out and get cameras to put in communities, and we need money. We need more resources. I need a camera for my helicopter to be able to beam from my helicopter down to my MAC center. So technology is something that helps us fight crime now in the future. So crime has really changed, and I'm quite sure the DA can tell you some things that he has experienced of all the cases he has coming in to deal with the way crime has changed.
And I would like to mention our DA, because I want to also say you mentioned the partnership. We have such great partnership with you, Sheriff. I'm not, I would be rich if I didn't mention. I say the deputy sheriff, your beautiful wife, Vanessa. But we have such a great relationship with you to the point that our national president, Kimberly Jeffries, has commented and spoke about the relationship and is asking our other chapters throughout the country to develop those type of partnerships and make sure that we have stakeholders at the table, such as yourself, as well as such as our district attorney. But as we talk about law enforcement, and I know the time is drawing now, this crime issue, even here in Birmingham, in Jefferson County, it's going up. It's escalating at a precipitous rate.
And my question to you all, both of you, and this one, both, what would you say is the most significant factor driving crime here in the city of Birmingham and throughout Jefferson County?
You know, I would say number one, there are several factors, but the significant one, I believe, is the socioeconomic situation. It is also underserved communities. It is the helplessness of families. It is people not respecting their fellow person anymore. But I think one of the things that we have to do, we have to take a holistic approach to what's going on. What do I mean by that? We can't arrest our way out of what's going on. We can't prosecute our way out of what's going on. What we have to do is figure out a way to take the creative space we have and do things that are outside the box, which are not normal sometimes, in order to affect change. Some of the things I'm talking about is looking at a way where you can make people who've been touched by the criminal justice system more productive members of society, whether it's by giving them employment. Also, looking at how you deal with the pipeline in prison, which is real. When kids drop out of school, unless they have a skill or they're already rich, they're going to end up in the car with the drugs, they're going to end up on the corner with the drugs, or they're going to end up with a gun in their hand. And for the purpose of this conversation, let me just say, just so we can get practice, one school, I'm not going to name the schools, I think this is important for your listeners. A K-8 school, which is not 4 miles from where we sit right now. March 5th, 2019, had 3,098 unexcused absences. A K-8 school, 3,098. Through our Helping Families initiative that deal with chronic absenteeism, the next year, they ended up with 2,149. What's significant about that? That's 949 days of difference of in-class learning, which equates to 6,643 more learning hours. Now, I can go on and on about that. But the important thing is that we're trying to do things that are different, that normally a DA's office doesn't do, but because, and I can speak for the sheriff as well. The sheriff and I talk about different things all the time. You know, the sheriff can easily go out and just ride around, arrest folks, bring them to the county. But what is that truly going to do? I can easily sit in the courthouse, prosecute people, go back downstairs. What is that really going to do? The question is, what else are we doing substantively to make a difference in our communities? And those are some of the things that we're doing just on the surface level to fight crime, to do things that will help hopefully make our community stronger and the people that live in our various communities and families strong as well.
And I have one last question. I'm actually reading from many questions that our chapter second vice president actually gave me on behalf of our chapter. But I think
That is a very good question, very tough question, because I deal with that each and every day. And we do have a plan to go out to bring more people of the communities, different communities that we serve, into law enforcement to be able to go out and serve those communities. And we reach out, we have ways of trying to contact individuals, say, hey, we need you. But the way law enforcement has been portrayed in the media, we have been rejected so much here lately because of the image that we have, but we're constantly trying to change that image. We're in the community right now trying to bridge the gap. Like I said before, we're doing many things within the community to help. And the DA is doing, the DA and I, we do a lot of similar things together in the community. We're going to the community, we will feed the community. He will do the same thing, he will feed the community. Job fairs. I have a job fair, he will have a job fair. We do many things in the community to bridge that gap within the community. You'll see both of us in the community on a regular basis, touching the people. We are very accessible to the people in the community. And one thing that does, when I go out, people come up to me and talk to me, tell me their problems. They feel comfortable with me at the same time. And he could tell you the same thing. He has stories in which he tells about how the youth will come up to him and they will talk to him about things going on in the community. So they have a trust in us, and it starts right there within the leadership. If they can start trusting the leadership, we can start building a relationship with the community. And that's what we need to do. Start trusting, then build this relationship. Then we can start getting people to come into law enforcement, to come to serve the communities in which they live in. And that's what we need to do, because I believe they can do a better job than some of the ones who don't live in those communities, who don't understand those communities, who's not going to be trusted by those communities. So when we have people from those communities coming in, individuals will talk to them and share information with them to help solve crimes, or more or less even prevent crimes. That's what we want to do most of all, prevent crimes from happening. So that is what we do each and every day, is bridging the gap, getting into the communities, being accessible, talking to the people there, get them to build a trust and a relationship with us.
Thank you. And I want you to answer this.
Both of you, actually. District Attorney Carr, what do we do practically that is as a matter of practicality as individuals to help bridge the gap? And this question actually came from our first Vice President, Tanya Perry. And we want to know not only to bridge the gap, but to create peace. Sheriff Hill, you're stepping out here with this theme of peace. District Attorney Carr, peace. We've got to bring peace to these situations. So if you would please assist us in answering this one particular question that was brought to us. Sheriff Petway.
Thank you for the question there. Sheriff's office here, I have put together a chaplain team. And within my chaplain team, what we do, we go into the communities and we pray in every community there is right here in Jefferson County. We invite the public to come in and pray with us. I believe in prayer. I'm a man of faith. I don't hide it. I'm not afraid, nor am I ashamed of it. And I know that we're going to have to change. We're going to have to invite God in to come into these communities, and he's going to have to intervene in what's going on. We also have prayer right here within the sheriff's office, which the chaplains will pray weekly and daily for the community, for the change within the community. But we go out into the community, we talk to the individuals there. We make ourselves accessible to the individuals. I'll walk with different groups that are out in the community, with the peacekeepers, Faith in Action. I walk with those groups and a part of those groups, and we walk at night to talk to the citizens and the residents in those communities at night, to listen, to love, and to learn from them. Those are the things that we do each and every day in those communities to see how we can better serve them. And if we don't listen to them, and we don't go to them and talk to them, we will not know how to better serve them. So that is what we do on a daily basis. We listen, we love, and we learn. We're not there to judge them. We're there to try to find out what can we do to better serve you.
Can I say this too? For someone who's on this program and is listening, that may be a part of another law enforcement agency. I know the sheriff department does a good job of getting out of the community and doing things. But one of the major things is that we have to figure out a way to get to community policing. Why is that important? Because you react differently to someone that you know, love, and respect when you show up. If the first time you show up, the lights on, and you don't know anybody in that community,
That's right.
You're going to react different. You're not going to trust them. They're not going to trust you, and you will never get information from them. So if you're on a beat, and you've been on that beat for 8 months, and you don't know nobody, you don't stop and talk to Miss Sue on the porch. You don't stop to the young guys who stand over there and just let them know, hey, man, I'm not here to judge you. I just want you to know who I am. Look on my card. If I have a problem. Community policing is so important.
And I don't really want to tweet me, email me, or text me. I preach this every single day. I've shared this with the mayor of the city of Birmingham. I've had an opportunity, a unique opportunity to work
for a mayor, Mayor Rich Barrington Jr. I work in the Public Works Department. I'm a legislator. I'm an attorney here in Birmingham. And I know for a fact, when these peace officers were true peace officers, crime in the city of Birmingham and around this area was down.
Right.
You have to get that to police, community police. When I drive on Highway 78, I know every deputy that's on Highway 78.
Right.
When I'm going home, and it makes a difference. Not only does it make a difference in me just feeling a level of comfort, but I know I can stop, I can engage with them. They're familiar with me, and because of that, I know the area I live in is a lower level of crime infested areas throughout Jefferson County. I feel safe. And I also feel like the people around me. So, Sheriff Petway, when I drive home, I just want you to know I thank you. Every time I see that black and white SUV, I feel a sense of comfort. And I just wholeheartedly agree with you, DA Carr. Everybody said the messages that we're getting in is thank you so much for always sharing your faith. Sheriff Petway, just a phenomenal job with bridging the gap. District Attorney Carr, you know everybody loves you and your mother, Regina Carr. But this has been such a wonderful, wonderful dialogue. We hate that Reverend Sharpton dropped off, but that's the day of social media. Things happen. And I want to also, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Katrina Jackson, who she puts me in these situations. She called me one morning. Well, can we get? And I said, well, Katrina, what do you want me to do? So she said, well, you try to help me get Reverend Al Sharpton. And so I'm sitting here, Reverend Al Sharpton, Lord, let me try to figure out how I can get Reverend Al Sharpton. And we're in the middle of a session. But it's Katrina Jackson. And because it's Katrina Jackson, I said, I'll figure out a way. And we were honored to have him here. And he will be here in person sometime in, I think, October. And Mr. Wynn has reassured me that he's going to get us to a point where we will be able, Sheriff Petway, to have a one-on-one with him, and he will engage with the Tri-County chapter of the Links and District Attorney Carr, and you will be there, I'm sure, because we're going to make you be there. So, but I want to thank everyone for all of these questions that we had. We couldn't get through all of the ones that were pre-prepared. But we wanted to just make sure that we touched on this. But before we go, I have to ask this question because I was told to by our vice president, second vice president. Everybody doesn't know what a sheriff does. Everybody doesn't know what a district attorney does. Everybody doesn't know what you do as an attorney. Sheriff Petway, everybody doesn't know what you do. They think that you're just elected as sheriff, but they don't understand that you're not just a big boss. You're the boss over so many people, and you have such a big responsibility. So before we go, because there may be a young person listening, they may have heard you today. They may have heard you. Like you mentioned how Reverend Sharpton was a mentor to you. And if it had not been for him, you would not be where you are today. Someone's listening saying, I want to be like Sheriff Mark Petway. Somebody's listening to say that I want to be like Attorney, District Attorney. I was about to say Attorney General, but I'm speaking into existence. But at this time, as we close out, and as you all close out, tell the people exactly what your role and responsibility, and Sheriff, make sure you tell them how many people you have the responsibility of overseeing.
Absolutely, and thank you. And we're just delighted to be on this panel this afternoon. And I was glad that the DA shared some things about community policing, and that was something that I did in the city of Fairfield for many years. I was a bicycle police officer, and I did get to know the residents there very well, and they invited me out to barbecues and all kind of events that they had. So that was great getting to know them, and that is a great way to police and a great way to get to build a relationship. Now, what I do as a sheriff, I have the largest county here in the state of Alabama. Jefferson County is the largest city, the largest county in the state of Alabama. And I'm responsible for public safety for this county right here. We go out and we enforce the laws each and every day. Have to make sure that I have over 500 deputies under my command. Want to make sure they do the right thing each and every day that they go out. So our top priority is to make sure that you're safe. Then we want to make sure that the deputies that are serving you, they do the right thing every day. So we provide them with cameras for accountability. But there's a lot that we do here in the sheriff's office. We have a jail. We have 2 jails. We're divided into the 2 divisions. We have the Birmingham division and the Investment division. So we're divided in 2 divisions. We also have a criminal division. We have also school resource. We have a civil division in which we serve papers. We also have a MAC center in which we do a lot of technology. We have a lot that goes on right here in the sheriff's office, but we're also looking for great individuals to come serve. So this is an opportunity for me right now to invite you, if you're looking for a job, to come and be a part of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. We'd love to have you to be a part of the Sheriff's Office, to come serve your community, to make a difference in your community. So we do a lot of great things here as far as public safety. So if you feel like that's something that you want to do, come and be a part of it. Thank you.
P.A.C.E Carr, I just want to make sure your closing remarks and make sure that you tell who you are. This is something that just came in from your Alicia, if I'm saying it wrong, please forgive me, Cole, once again, and she speaks about pouring into the voices of our people. To pour in, and this is what this dialogue is doing. We're pouring into the voices. They can hear you. They can hear each of you. So at this time, D.A. Carr.
Let me first say again, thank you to Tri-City Links for doing this. As usual, you guys do a phenomenal job within our community. And I'm hoping that at some point I can get my mom to join y'all. I know she's looking at this. She's probably throwing stuff at the computer now. However, but I want to thank y'all. And again, let me say this: as district attorney, the DA is the gatekeeper of the criminal justice system. That's the way I describe it. And what I mean by the gatekeeper, the DA has a bifurcated job. The DA should make sure that the innocent doesn't suffer, but also that the guilty doesn't go free, which is a unique job. The DA has the responsibility to make sure that justice is served, and no matter what manner that comes. And what I mean by that is this: if something was done wrong to someone, whether someone car was searched incorrectly or something happened, then we had a responsibility to right that wrong and say that case should be dismissed. But at the same time, we had a responsibility to hold people accountable for the criminal acts that they commit. But we also have another commitment to the courts as well. We have the duty to set up diversion courts. People don't know about those. Drug court, veterans court, mental health court, theft court. All the courts, diversion courts that are in Jefferson County are set up by the district attorney. But we're also doing things in schools through our Helping Families Initiative, through our Second Chance Job Fair, things that typically a DA does not do. Our office is the largest office in the state. We have 116 employees. We handle about right at 10,000 felonies a year, not counting misdemeanors. So we do a lot of work within the community to try to make sure that we balance justice in whatever way it comes. But at the end of the day, what I'd like for the listeners to know, and I'd like for them to hold on to this. And as I'm saying, however you digest this, make it usable for you. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. So make sure that you understand that whether it's jury duty, voting, law enforcement, coming to work at the sheriff's department, that you be the change you want to see. Because at the end of the day, it's up to all of us to carry our point. Thanks for listening.
Well said. I want to take this opportunity to thank my chapter for allowing me to participate in this program before I bring on our national.
I want to take this opportunity to thank my chapter, the Tri-County chapter of Links Incorporated, for allowing me this opportunity to yet again participate in these informative programs. We were given a charge this year as a result of our Links Day at the Capitol to get involved, to participate, to engage with the P.E.A.C.E program. And I am so honored to have this opportunity. I want to take this opportunity to personally thank Rakaya McLean, who this at the last minute, and I apologize. We did not know we were going to get Reverend Al Sharpton. And when I got the email, we moved into action immediately. So thank you, Rakaya, for all that you do, as well as Carlay Underwood for all that she does as well to assist. And at this time, I am going to turn it over, or hand it over, should I say, to our National Trends and Services Chairperson, Katrina Jackson.
Good evening to this distinguished panel, guests, friends, and Links chapter members. Our chapters are empowered to raise our voices and transform the communities in which we serve. This evening's powerful discussion was very much needed. I would like to thank our National Links President, Dr. Kimberly Jeffries Leonard, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, NOBLE, past President Vera Boppers, and newly elected NOBLE President C.J. Davis for their vision and partnership with NOBLE to change the dynamics between the police and communities of color with program Police Engagement and Community Education, better known as P.E.A.C.E. In light of the events that have taken place over the past years with such killings as George Floyd, Laquan McDonald, Botham Jean, and Breonna Taylor, we take note in how people have demonstrated against the injustices in so many ways. We must continue to engage in panel discussions, town halls, workshops, and share educational and training materials in our communities to promote understanding and eradicate unjustified police violence. This important work must continue and be done by each and every one of us. Thank you, Reverend Al Sharpton, for your continued and unwavering dedication in the fight for civil rights. Sheriff Mark Petway, we thank you for your outstanding work in law enforcement and your partnership with our Links chapter through the P.E.A.C.E program. District Attorney Danny Carr, thank you for your vision, commitment, and sustained fight for justice. To my Links sister, Representative Wandala Gadvan, thank you for your dedication to social justice and for knocking it out of the park once again as the moderator of tonight's forum. I would also like to acknowledge our Southern Area National Trends and Services Facet Chair, Attorney Denise Cooper, my Tri-County Alabama chapter of the Links Incorporated President, Rhonda Allen, and Vice President of Programming, Kathy Bonds. Thank you for your outstanding leadership. To my Tri-County Alabama Links sisters, thank you for your continued friendship and service. The fight continues, but if we faint not, we shall overcome. Good evening.